All right, hey friends, Pastor Joe Barlow here. Welcome to the Monday edition of Daily Discipleship with Joe Barlow. This is my daughter Natalie, but it's not Barlow anymore, it's Natalie Hochstatter.
Yep.
She's been married for several years. What'd you say?
3.5.
3.5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And so we have a son-in-law named Danny, and now we have a granddaughter named Avery. And so we're very, very blessed. And we're thankful that they live nearby. And so while we're shooting this show, my wife is being blessed as a grandma, being able to watch the baby and just enjoy some time with and get some cuddles.
Yep.
So anyway, so how are you enjoying married life?
Married life's awesome. It's great. Everyone said that after the honeymoon it would all go downhill, and I'm proving that wrong. So
Amen.
It's good. It's wonderful. It's awesome to be married to your best friend, and Danny and I both have very similar dreams and visions for life, and so we're in a season now of really walking those out and really becoming who we are called to be. And it's awesome to be married to someone who's really pushing me harder than I've ever been pushed before to become who I'm meant to be. And my dad did that growing up for me, and so I kind of transitioned from my dad doing that to my husband doing that. They say that you marry someone who's similar to your dad, and I think I did that.
Scary thought.
But he really pushes me to become who I'm meant to be, and so it's been awesome. Motherhood's been amazing. It's been an easy transition. When you're the third of 7 kids growing up, you feel like you've already been a mom. So it was a pretty easy transition into motherhood, but now our life is really starting to shift and to be more conducive to parenthood, because we really want to take time to parent our daughter and not just let her raise herself. So.
Yeah. So what are some of the key things that you think the Lord is speaking to you or teaching you through these seasons of life, whether it be parenting or being a wife? You know, what are some of the things that God is just, I don't know, for me it's just kind of like it just keeps raining. Mm-hmm. Wisdom from God or revelation from God. So what has God been speaking to you? By the way, this is a question I would ask them when they were little, so This is not an issue.
He knows he can put me on the spot, and it's no big deal. Things that he's been teaching me in this season, specifically right now, I'm having to have a lot of grace for myself. And I heard it said from many mothers that you feel like you're failing in every area at the beginning. And I was like, no, I'm doing great. And then last week I was like, I feel like I'm failing in every area. But I'm not. And I'm a high achiever. And my life has always been full of multiple different things. I've always had my hand in 10 different pots at the same time. And now I'm having to really prioritize. So right now specifically, I'm learning about keeping my priorities straight and putting my time where my priorities are. And if I say that something is the most important thing to me, does my schedule reflect that?
Is that on your calendar?
Yeah. And so it really takes drawing some boundaries and disappointing people, and sometimes disappointing yourself, because I think I should have a higher capacity than I do currently. And it's easy for me to get down on myself about that. And so God's really teaching me right now to give myself grace for this season. I'm in a massive transition, and so learning to give myself grace, learning to keep my priorities straight, that my relationship with God, my relationship with my husband, and my relationship with my daughter are the most important things, and everything else falls after that.
Let me ask you about a particular thing that I wrestle with. How do you give yourself permission to rest? What do you go through when you're dealing with it? Because I know that, like, I'm laying in bed and I know if I get up, I'm going to probably get sick or something, just because if I don't get the rest. Yeah. And so I have to force myself to say, okay, I have to trust God with all the things that are ahead of me.
Oh, yeah, one of my biggest areas of weakness is that it's a massive strength, actually, is my responsibility. Like I take responsibility for everyone around me, everything that I'm doing, and I'm responsible for it. And in the past few years of life, I've had to learn that I need to give God that responsibility, because when I'm taking that responsibility, he actually doesn't get to be God in that area. Because I'm like, God, I got this.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of this person. There was one time I had to tell God that I was taking responsibility for my dad, and that he needed to take responsibility for my dad instead. And I kid you not, when I did that, when I was like, oh, I feel super stressed out right now because I'm taking responsibility for my dad's life. God, that's your responsibility. You take responsibility for that. I felt this weight lift off of my shoulders and this peace come and this rest come. And so for me, rest comes when I release responsibility. And when I recognize, okay, yes, I may be responsible to this situation, or yes, of course I'm responsible to my daughter. Like, I need to care for her. I'm her source of life right now. I'm feeding her. I'm all of those things. But God, ultimately, you are responsible for this person. It takes me to a new level of rest with that, which is really powerful. And so I'm learning that, of just releasing the responsibility so that I can rest, factoring it into my schedule to do that. And it really takes boundaries, and I'm learning how hard it is for me to make boundaries because it doesn't feel loving to make boundaries sometimes, but it's the ultimate gift of love to make boundaries so that I can love God well and love myself well and love my husband and my daughter well. And so it's just shifting the love, you know.
Just so you know, Natalie works here at the church with us as one of our associate pastors. And so when she says she's taking responsibility for her dad, because she's got this role of daughter of the pastor, but also associate pastor. And so finding the balance between those two things is, it had to be a shift. There had to be a shift of, hey, I'm watching, because in the past we've had some pretty difficult times. And so she became like the guardian, to protect her father, which I appreciated, and I took a lot of comfort in that. I thank God that, somebody was on my side in a sense.
It's an advocate.
Yeah, that's a good word. And so it really was a great blessing to me. But when that becomes a burden that's kind of off balance, then it's like, okay, you need to trust God.
They say that weaknesses are just overused strength. And so I may be super good with responsibility, but when I overuse that responsibility, it can turn into control.
Yeah.
Or when I overuse my love for people, it can turn into me having no boundaries. And so honing in my strengths so that they are fully developed strengths, not weaknesses, is really the biggest lesson I'm learning right now.
Hand me that water bottle if you would. Let me show you something. I could turn this water bottle into a squirt gun simply by taking a pin and poking it through the lid, and then if I squeeze, it's going to shoot out in a straight line. But if I just open the lid, and I turned it, the water would just pour out. And the reason that I can turn that into a straight line when I squeeze it is because of focus. If I use a pinpoint and I just focus it, what I've done is I've increased the boundaries, strengthened the boundary real tight. And so I've often said, there's enough light in this room here to cut this table in half. But it's not doing it because it's not focused. And if we take all of the energies of our life, there's enough power in the energies of your life to break through any single wall that's in your way, or any single blockage to a goal, or any mountain you want to climb. There's enough energy in your life. But the problem is it's not focused. And if we will focus, and focus takes boundaries. And boundaries are a blessing, even though you have to put somebody else on the outside of that wall, say, nope, I'm sorry, you're on the outside of my boundary. You're not on the inside. Now, you don't want to tell them that personally. You don't want to hurt their feelings, but you just, sorry, I can't fit you in.
Here, out here.
But there's a reality to that. And you have to.
Jesus had that.
Yes, he did.
He had the masses, he had the 12, and then he had the three that he pulled aside, and then he had one.
Yeah.
And there was John, then there was the 3, then there was the 12, then there was the masses. So Jesus had his boundaries.
It's real important that one of the most important words for you in order for you to have a yes in your life. One yes means a whole lot of no's.
Yep.
It's no, 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 and yes. Yeah. And that's the way you establish things. And we were talking about rest. Okay, well, if I'm going to rest, that means I can't stay up, thumbing through a Facebook feed or, or Instagram or whatever. Well, I want to see what my kids are doing. Okay, well, wonderful. you know, but you can get the clock can be eaten up quickly,
Yeah.
and then the calendar gets eaten up.
One of the most devastating things that Apple has now added on iPhones is they tell you how much screen time you average each day, every week, and that's just a sad number. And my husband and I we're getting our life in order, making our priorities straight. And
Yep.
one rule that we're trying to implement is from 8 to 8, there's no phones. Like, it's just 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Love
People
it.
don't get to contact us, so we get to have that time together, and we get to have that time with our family and just at our home. And it's also good for your brain to de-stimulate a little bit.
I agree. Well, why don't we do this? Now, why don't you pray for the people who are watching today? Relative to some of the things we talked about, just relative to focus. I think some of them are struggling in that area of boundaries. Just pray for license, that they would have the freedom to say no.
And it may take you guys individually saying, I give myself permission to have boundaries. Because you may have been raised in a home with no boundaries.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, then you need to actually give yourself permission and know that God's giving you permission to have boundaries
Awesome.
in your life.
Well, let's go for it.
Yeah, so God, I just pray over everyone watching today, everyone watching this live and everyone watching this later on. God, I just ask you to reassure them in their heart that you've created boundaries. God, that you are the author of boundaries, and that they have permission to exercise boundaries in their life. And God, I ask you to show them how to do that in kindness and in love and in maturity. And God, I just also ask you to show people today, if they are taking responsibility in areas that are not theirs to take responsibility for, I ask you to just show them how to give that back to you, how to release those people, those things, those tasks, those relationships back to you, God, so that you can be God and so that you can be responsible for those areas. And I just speak your blessing over those people, over every person watching today. God, I thank you for them. I pray that they would feel your love and your peace like never before today. In Jesus' name.
Amen. That's good. I think this is going to help people.
Yeah.
Listen, we're pre-recording this week so I can get Natalie in for the whole week. But listen, one more thing I want to share with you, and we're going to put a link in the notes for this, and that is this class that I've got up online called Hearing the Voice of God in Journaling. If you've ever wondered, can I hear the voice of God? I'd like you to take this class. I think it will really help you. And so we'll just click on the link, look in the notes and click on the link for that, and you'll read more about it. Okay? We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.